So you're just gonna walk up, or how are you gonna do
it? I'm a little nervous. What's going on, Faded Culture? I'm Adrian Barone, and we're back with another tutorial. Today we're gonna be running down the steps on how to do a ball fade with the natural part on my buddy Officer Salinas here. Before we get started though, I wanted to quickly thank y'all for shopping with us at fadedculture.co. As y'all have seen, we do got the windbreakers, the hoodies, and all the winter gear in stock. And congratulations again to last week's winners for the giveaway on the 300K subscriber mark. With that said, guys, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and let's jump right into this tutorial. So again, guys, congratulations to the winners on our 300K subscriber milestone, but stay tuned because we will be doing a giveaway at every 100,000 subscribers. So we're almost getting to that 400K, so if you aren't subscribed already, don't forget to do so. We're gonna start by damping the hair just slightly, and a quick tip I have for that is add a little bit of conditioner, leave-in conditioner to your water to keep the hair moist and soft. And I'm gonna go ahead and start sectioning his hair, creating that natural part. And one thing I did want to mention is these Faded Culture capes are on our store, guys, so go ahead and visit the link below, fadedculture.co, if you want to cop one. Using the fine side of the comb, as you can see here, to grab as much hair as I can. Locating the forehead side hairline, I'm gonna go ahead and start this fade right at that temple peak area and drop it just slightly as we approach the back of the ear. Using no guard, closing that lever completely, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my initial guideline. And you do want to go ahead and keep a small brush on your opposite hand to then clean the surface after every few strokes. Make sure that you are leaving these guidelines in as soft as you can, guys. And yes, my clippers are zero gap, all of them, including even my trimmers. And there is a video in the description below on how we zero gap in case y'all want to check it out, which I highly recommend y'all do. And just make sure that your guideline ends up at that same temple peak area on the opposite side. And don't be afraid to go over your guideline as many times as you need to. So like I mentioned, make sure it ends up at that same temple peak area. You can always view him from the front just to make sure that they align. Still with no guard, we're going to go ahead and open the lever completely. And we're going to take this next guideline about a finger's width up. Again, guys, just staying easy. As you can see, I'm slightly flicking up at the top of each guideline. The easier and softer that you are when you initially set them in, the easier it is going to be when you need to come back down and start removing these guidelines, guys. So keep that in mind. Again, just brushing after every few strokes. Make sure that your guideline is parallel to the one underneath so your fade is consistent throughout. Take it all around and take your time with it. For the next guideline, we're going to use a number 1 guard, and we're going to go ahead and keep that lever still in the fully open position. Again, taking the next guideline up about a finger's width. Very easy and simple process, guys. And the steps to this fade will be in the description down below in case y'all want to screenshot them and follow along that way. Again, right here you can see the motion of my wrist, how I'm flicking out as I approach the top of these guidelines. Now with my number 2 guard, we're going to go ahead and continue the process, lever still in the fully open position. As I'm setting up the canvas, the lever stays fully open. The only thing that's going to change are the guards. And you can see how I'm coming straight up and out from that parietal ridge. And finally, for the last guard, it is going to be the number 3. And like I mentioned, the lever is going to stay completely open. And if you were initially soft enough with that number 2, you shouldn't see a guideline between the number 2 and the number 3. It should just blend right in. And with these higher guards, instead of keeping a brush on my opposite hand, what I like to do is keep a comb and just then recomb the surface after every few strokes. Now that we're pretty much done with that, we're gonna go ahead and use clipper over comb to finish off the rest. As you can see, I opened up the lever completely for my clipper over comb technique. This is just basically going to be used as a safety net. If you're very new to clipper over comb, I suggest that you even slap on the number 1 guard and attack it that way. Just make sure that you are recombing the surface after you cut it, so you can then see how the hair lays. And to finish removing the bulk, we're going to go ahead and use thinning shears over comb. And that's pretty much it for setting up the canvas. By now you should have the first guideline that we created with the 0, second that we created with the lever open, and third with the number 1 guard lever open. We're going to start with that one and work our way down. Using my 1.5 guard, I'm going to go ahead and close the lever just slightly. If you need to, rewind that little clip just so you can see how much I closed the lever. It was very little. It's basically a position between fully open and halfway open. We like to call it the 3/4 position. Again, just attacking that higher most guideline. And just take your time with it and go over it as many times as you need. Now for the second guideline coming down, we're going to use the half guard, and we're going to keep the lever in that 3/4 position. And as you can see right here, this guard is creating a line right above it, but do not take this step any higher, as we will come back right now with the number 1 guard and remove that line. And this lever position, guys, it works almost like 90 to 95% of the time, but it is a rule of thumb. So if you need to close it or open it just slightly, then don't be afraid to do so. So like I mentioned, now I'm going to use a number 1 guard, but I'm going to keep the lever in that 3/4 position to attack that line that the half guard created. Take your time with it. Use mainly the corners when you need to get into the tighter areas. And finally, for the last line, we're going to use a 3-step process, starting with the lever completely closed. Then we're going to open it halfway. And finally, we're going to open it completely. I'm going to go ahead and focus just on this left side of the head, as this last line is very tedious, and I like to give as much attention to detail as possible with this last line. So like I mentioned, secondly, we're going to open it halfway, taking each of these notches up just slightly. And finally, fully open. As you can see, now that it's in this fully open position, I'm using mainly the corners of the clipper just to ensure that I don't take the fade up any higher than I need to, but I'm still getting rid of those dark areas. We're all pretty much done. Now I'm going to focus just on the back side of the head, again using that 3-step process. And even this 3-step process, guys, it is just a rule of thumb. Hair does vary, and a lot of the times towards this back side of the head, it does get a little more coarse, so you do need to basically do a little more lever play. But what I want y'all to do and what I recommend y'all do is go through the motions of these 3-step process, take a step back, and then attack whatever's left or whatever you need to. We're pretty much done with the fade now, guys. Now using my half guard, I'm gonna go ahead and put lever play, as when I come back and do any touch-up work, it does vary from one side of the head to another and from client to client. This is just something that comes with experience from developing an eye to touch up as much work as you need to. You can always take a step back or view your client from the mirror just to get a broader view of the haircut. As you can see right here, I'm opening and closing the lever as I need to. Now using the trimmer in this forward position to get as closest to the scalp as I possibly can. And then go ahead and turn your trimmer around and remove that faint line that it created by using it in the forward position. And by using it in the forward position, you're gonna see that it's gonna create this distinction from the bottom hair to the fade. And that distinction is going to basically be used as a guideline for our electric shaver. And you can see from the sideburn area, I always remove the hair about mid-ear. That typically gives me enough space to fade the beard down. Again, guys, the tutorial on how we zero gap our clippers is in the description down below. Highly recommend you check it out, as it is important that you zero gap your clippers, but that you also check them on your forearm to make sure that they're not too sharp, as they will scratch or bite your client's head. And to finish it off, using our electric shaver. As you approach that faint line, you want to use mainly the corners of your electric shaver so that we don't take the fade up any higher. As you can see right here, I'm using the electric shaver in the normal position, but as I approach that faint line, you're going to notice that I turn it around and try to angle myself and come in with mainly the corners of it, like I mentioned. And that's pretty much it for the fade. As for the beard, I use a reverse process to blend it in, starting with my number 1 guard, lever fully open, and then I go ahead and close the lever and continue that. Then once I'm done with that, remove the guard and then open the lever and use that 3-step process backwards, starting with the lever open, then we're gonna close it halfway and finally close it completely. And then using my trimmer to finish it off. As for the edge up, we always start in the middle and then work our way to one side. And then before starting the opposite side, I almost always recalibrate, starting from the middle again and then work my way to the other side, just to make sure that I'm going as straight as possible. Cleaning up those bottom hairs that touch the lip. And I always like to line up the neckline about a finger's width above the Adam's apple. And just like the edge up, I start from the middle and then work my way to one side. And again, just recalibrate from the middle and then work your way to the opposite side. Using my electric shaver to get closer to the scalp. And then I go ahead and run the electric shaver over any other areas that I'm gonna go ahead and use a straight razor on. And he did want to leave all the length on his beard, but I'm gonna go ahead and step back and remove any frizz that he has by freehanding it with my clipper. This is where the white walls definitely come in handy. Here applying a little bit of shave gel. And another tip I have with the shave gel is go ahead and apply some water after the shave gel just to elongate the life of the gel. Putting a small napkin on his neckline so I can then wipe the straight razor after every few strokes. And you always want to start with the thickest area to shave. As you can see, I'm starting with the mustache area. Using my Faded Culture matte razor. Again, the link will be in the description to this as well. I definitely love these matte razor, guys. I love the distinction between the blade and the razor itself. Always shaving with the grain first and then coming at it by shaving against the grain. And always using your opposite hand to help stretch the skin for a softer, smoother shave. And then dust off your client as much as you can. I even take the initiative to take some of the hair from inside of their ear out. I like for them to get out of my chair and then go about their day. And here just using a little bit of heat so I can brush the hair back. Whenever you're blow drying, you always want to start with heat just to open the cuticle so we can make the hair malleable and then get it to lay in whatever position we desire. And then you always want to finish it off with a cool shot to then close the cuticle and freeze the hair. Here applying a little bit of matte pomade. Then I'm gonna go ahead and run a brush through it just to split the hair and bring a little more texture into it. And then locking down any frizz with hairspray. Using some semi-permanent hair dye. And yes, I do dilute mine with water. Here's the before, guys, in case y'all forgot. And here's the after. A bald fade, we went ahead and left the length on top. And the beard, we went ahead and left the length on it as well, and we just cleaned up all the frizz. I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial, guys. I hope y'all took something new from it. As always, let us know down in the comments what y'all would like for us to do next. And if you haven't subscribed already, do so. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.